I am so happy now to say that Brian Molko from Placebo is with me. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Chris.
How's life?
Well, first, let me wish you all a very happy birthday and congratulations.
Oh, thanks. Yeah,
You know.
20 years. 9 years down the line, Brian. Why so long?
Well, okay, I mean, the last official album came out in 2013, so we did a couple of years touring for that. That takes us up to 2015. Started working on this album in 2016, just me and Steph. And that's when our retrospective tour kicked off, and that lasted another 2 years. Then we started recording this record in our home studio, and we were about like 80% finished, getting ready to start to go out on the road again when the pandemic hit. So it's delayed everything for 2 years. So we have been working, so it's not as if we're coming out of retirement.
And what are the processes involved in making a Placebo album?
Well, this one's really different, just because of the circumstances. What we would normally do, and what we did for all the previous albums, is that we'd go spend 3 months in a rehearsal studio and just play and kind of see what happened and sort of build songs very, very organically that way as a live band. But this one was completely different. This is the most kind of constructed in the studio record that we've ever done. So when we take it into the rehearsal room as we are now, it's almost like a process of relearning everything and relearning how to play it, because it's so layered and it's so textured. It's got so many different sounds on it that if I was to try and replicate that on stage, I'd probably need a pedal board about the size of the stage to accommodate everything, that we used to make this record, most of which we've kind of forgotten anyway. So it's kind of a process of translation from this musical Tetris thing that we did in the studio. I'm spending a lot of time relearning the songs, basically, because the way that we approached this was a complete break with our tried and tested methods.
Have you ever been surprised by a song that you really love and are absolutely sure is going to go down brilliantly with audiences, and then hasn't? And by contrast, has there been an example of a song or songs that audiences have loved that you've been surprised by?
I think we've been really lucky. I haven't really had that kind of shock. I mean, for me, I think the biggest surprise of my career was Nancy Boy. My jaw was on the floor. I couldn't believe that a song called Nancy Boy in the 90s was #4 in the charts. That was my biggest surprise. I didn't imagine it would have such mainstream appeal.
How do you think it sits now, that song?
Honestly, it kind of feels like a different band, but, and it was like 25 years ago. I'm pleased that I had that kind of bravado and incredible self-confidence to put something like that out in the 90s. I don't know whether I have that confidence today.
Brian, let's talk some more in a moment, but pause for a second. I'm going to play Happy Birthday in the Sky now. Heartbreaker on the new album. Where did this come from?
Well, I think from two places. First, David Bowie's passing, which obviously had a major, major impact on me. It was at that point that I actually began to reflect on how much I had been influenced as a human being by David. There's a lot about David which taught me to be a better human. To me, Happy Birthday in the Sky, I have to kind of, in order to get inside a song, I create a narrative that's my own, and I create characters. And what I did in this one is that I tried to put myself in the shoes of somebody who lost a loved one to police brutality. So it was a mixture of Bowie's passing and what was happening in the news.
New Placebo, Happy Birthday in the Sky, from the new Placebo album, Never Let Me Go. And Brian Molko from Placebo is with me. Brian, David Bowie, who you've just talked about having such a big impact on your life. How did the two of you meet?
We met for the first time backstage at an arena in Milan. This was before we'd even recorded our first album. We kind of have Morrissey to thank, because Morrissey was opening for Bowie on this European tour. And then one day he decided that he didn't want to be on tour with Bowie anymore, so he got on the tour bus and left his band behind and told the driver to drive him to his mum's back in the UK, leaving David without a support band. And we had the same live agent at that point who passed on our demo tape, and he actually heard Nancy Boy and invited us to fill Morrissey's shoes for the rest of the tour. So, thanks, Moz.
And what do you think your life in the band would have been like without David Bowie's influence?
Wow. It's difficult to imagine. It really is, because, I mean, his tutelage, mentorship, it was so much a part of me finding my feet in the music industry. He still feels like a mentor to me today. I feel still like I have a relationship with him. I still feel like he's with me.
1996 then was when your first self-titled debut album came out. Do you think you were ready for that album to go so huge, Brian, and all the success that came with it?
Certainly not. We didn't imagine that would happen. Because when I started the band, I was on the dole. You know, I was kind of getting, unemployment and housing benefit and things like that. So my expectations were quite low. I just kind of wanted to get out of poverty and be able to feed myself and house myself. You know, that was really my motivation. And not to have to go get what I call a McJob. But we were really young, really naive. There was an element of kind of where we felt like we tricked people into giving us, a record deal and the opportunity to make an album, and that we'd be found out quite quickly. So we just embraced it.
Was being a rock star your destiny, though, do you think?
Depends on whether you believe in destiny or not.
Do you?
Colloquially, I would say destined to do something artistic, because the first thing that I wanted to do was become an actor. So I moved to London when I was 17, and I went to Goldsmiths College to study that. 3 years later, when I got my degree, I'd already changed my mind. I was like, okay, done that, but all I really want to do is start a band now. I needed to be the context. When I acted, I was always speaking somebody else's words and taking direction from somebody else. When I directed, it was still somebody else's story. Even when I started making small films, that's the closest that I sort of got to having my own voice, is when I started writing my own performances and making little movies. So I needed, first, immediacy, because, you can strap a guitar on, plug it into a distortion pedal, and get a reaction from people immediately. And I suppose I needed context control. I wanted to be the story, because I had this massive burning desire to express myself. So I had to go away and create another universe.
Is there anything that you'd like to do outside of acting, performing? Is there anything that you have a burning desire to do?
If there's anything, it would have to be something to do with animals and helping animals. People have accused me of liking animals more than humans. And, there is some kind of truth in that. Human beings are messier. Well, not physically messier. I suppose dogs are a little bit physically messier than humans, but emotionally so. And, I don't know, every single human being is a very, very, very long movie within themselves, with so much history, so much desire, so many complications. And then we go into the world and we just collide with each other.
Brian, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know you're not mad on doing radio interviews, are you?
I prefer them to TV interviews.
That's not saying much for you, is it?
I don't have to put my face on.
The new Placebo album, Never Let Me Go, is available to pre-order now.
That's correct.
And it comes out a week on Friday.
Oh my goodness.
And you've got some warm-up shows in Europe ahead of a massive UK and European tour in October, November and December.
Yeah, with some festivals in the summertime.
I'm very excited about the new album. I know it's going to do great for you. Brian, thank you so much for coming on.
Nice one, Chris. Great to talk to you again.
And to you too.
Have a good one.
Thank you, Brian Molko from Placebo.